So, very good morning, everybody, and welcome to this one session, one-off teaching on the 22 similes of bodhicitta path from Maitreya's Abhisamayalankara. So we start today, as we always try to, with a really, really good motivation, bodhisattva motivation, of course, because we are studying the similes for bodhicitta, and so we turn our hearts and our thoughts to everyone in very, very great loving care, and in particular with an inclusive mind, and including all those we know and have met in this life who've been significant in our life, humans, animals, yaks, and so on. And we feel we've been looking recently at the paramita of diligence, so we try to remind ourselves of what a wonderful, joyful thing it is to have found the Dharma, or the Dharma found us, and that we have this human life, this precious, precious human life with all of its potential between now and the time it ends. So very nice motivation, please, as we do our starting prayers. We take refuge in the Buddha, in the Dharma, and in the community of most noble minds. From this moment on, until we reach the very heart of enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and all 6 transcendent virtues, may we reach total awakening and every enlightened quality to be able to truly help sentient beings so lost in samsara. May each and every being be well, live long, be healthy, be well provided for, have good friends, find respect, live in places of peace and plenty. Most of all, may they practice Dharma. May they each create the causes for these good things to be their wealth in future lives. May they be free from suffering and from creating causes of future suffering. May they discover the natural, sacred well-being that's totally beyond suffering. May they attain great equanimity, free of closeness or distance from anyone. Deyata shamme shamavati shammeta shatru Om kuri mara jite karota keyore te jovati olayane Pishodane male malapanaye kukure kaka grase Krasana om ki param ki ham ki Sham dawane sava graha bandhanane grihitva Sava bhava pravadina vimukta narapasha savitva buddhamudra Anurgatita savamare butsarita parishuddhe Vigashantu savamara kama. Glorious Guru, source of all blessing, ever present above our heads on lotus and moon seat, through your immense kindness, ever sustain us, that the accomplishments of body, speech, and mind flow from you, and we are one. So we are looking at what? Well, In one way, we're looking at teachings from Gampopa's Ornament of Precious Liberation about these 22 similes. So it's about the bodhisattva path. The teachings that he's condensing in his Ornament of Precious Realization come from a text which is called the Abhisamaya Alamkara. And so that is a text from Buddha Maitreya via the great master Asanga, so 4th, 5th century of our era. And it is a sort of summary of the 100,000 verse Prajnaparamita teachings. So Prajnaparamita teachings, there's 8,000 verse, there's 25,000 verse. Longest version is 100,000 verse. Shortish summary, shortest one, very short, is what people call the Heart Sutra, which actually is a very rough translation because it's not a sutra and the word isn't heart, but never mind. So anyway, but that one many people encounter. It's a couple of pages. So the 100,000 verse teachings on Prajnaparamita are, of course, quite, comprehensive, thorough. There are a lot. And Asanga's teaching is Maitreya's teaching, the Abhisamaya Alamkara, is out of Maitreya's 5 great teachings, which are all of Mahayana Buddhism, all the Bodhisattva path is rooted in Nagarjuna teachings and Asanga's teachings, and how their various disciples developed those and wrote texts. But they're the 2 sources that codified the Mahayana teachings given by the Buddha. Nagarjuna came first. He taught a lot about paramitas and Prajnaparamita, with a big emphasis on the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, the wheel of Dharma turning, the teachings of the Buddha that destroy all the different illusions. It's the no turning of the wheel of Dharma. No, that's not quite right. Look at this. No, really? No, can't be. No ego, no this. In the end, no nothing. Even literally, no nothing. The voidness of voidness, the shunyata of shunyata, and so on. That's Nagarjuna's speciality. He was timely, 2nd, 3rd centuries of our era. What he taught was needed to be taught. It was highly developed. Already there were versions of the Prajnaparamita teachings before Nagarjuna. He really made them very clear. There was a tendency to make even bigger and bigger teachings on Prajnaparamita in particular, and then people were fed up with that and made smaller and smaller ones, and it ended up with this famous Heart Sutra. Then Asanga came along, and we get his readjustment, let's say, his work now needed at the time and needed to complete the Buddha's teachings based on the 3rd turning of the wheel of Dharma. Now, in particular, in what concerns the Prajnaparamita, of course, this text, the Abhisamaya Alamkara, which means like the ornament of all these, crowning jewel of all of those texts on Prajnaparamita, he presents it not so much in the no, but as a path. So all the delusions and illusions, they got to go, of course, but they go in the context of going to make way for Buddha nature, not just they go, nothing left. They go so that Buddha nature can manifest. And as they go, as the delusions go and Buddha nature becomes more and more present, brilliant, then various qualities of the path emerge. So this is what we are looking at through these 22 similes. And each of them says, when bodhicitta is accompanied by this and this, then it's like the earth, it's like gold, it's 22 similes. So of course we have to start by looking at this bodhicitta, which is being helped by, accompanied by, supported by the qualities of this first stage of the path, and then bit by bit, as we develop towards Buddha, how they feel the quality of bodhicitta at each stage is. So thanks to the experience of course, Buddha, but then all the Prajnaparamita teachings, great masters, and the Sangha, they've done it. 10th level bodhisattvas, they've gone across the path. They know, oh yeah, when you're at that level, you really, because your appreciation, then you're really stable. You feel like a mountain. When you got that point, you're rock solid. You can't be moved, and so on. So it's based on their experience. We're at the beginning of the path, so we can only understand bodhicitta as beginners can understand bodhicitta. We cannot understand bodhicitta by the time we get to simile 18, 19, up there. We haven't a clue what it's really talking about. But we know that those who've made the journey, it's like, I've just got some friends who've left for a journey in Italy. They've gone to a very lovely place, and with certain culinary specialities. So last night they had a meal, kind of, that you'd need to go to that little village in Italy to really taste that speciality. So I gather by their email that it was really and that one day it might be nice to end up in that village to see just what tastes like. But other than them saying it was really delicious, what can you do? They can't send you the taste. You have to go there yourself and taste it. So these similes and these, what we can read about, think about, we can only think about with our own vocabulary of experience. That's all we can do. That's all we can ever do. We've got our history. We've learnt words. All of our words relate to experience. Otherwise, it's just sound. Like if I say to you, banana, I think everyone's had the banana experience. We could develop it. Bananas are fascinating. There are so many, hundreds of types of bananas, not just the two main varieties you find in Europe. But then a banana, from the time it's green to the time it's really almost black, the taste change and so on. Banana is a big topic, right? But I can say to you, banana, and it makes sense. You've been there, you've done that, you've peeled a banana, you've eaten it, and so on. I could even maybe tell you about a species of banana you've not eaten. You see, these little finger bananas you find in the south of India. See, it's like your ordinary banana, but it's got a little taste of kind of butter and caramel to it. So if you've done butter and you've done caramel, then your imagination can start putting it together. Yeah, banana, butter, caramel. What you're saying, I can make sense of. We can only approach knowledge through the references we've already gathered. New is new. We have to experience it when it happens. So please keep that in mind as we go through these 22 similes. Now, they're all about bodhicitta. So how we know it at the beginning is our motivating bodhicitta. It's a wish. May I achieve enlightenment so as to be able to benefit all sentient beings. It's a wish with a double focus, as we know from the bodhicitta teachings. One is enlightenment, which is the highest fulfillment for ourselves. You cannot become more in any way. You can't become kinder, more peaceful, more wise, more loving, more caring, more stable. It's the highest possible accomplishment for a mind. So we want it for ourselves, the best. It's also, and that's wonderful, the best we could ever do for everybody else, because of all the qualities of the enlightened mind help us help others. So we're looking at the journey to that double benefit for oneself, benefit for others. Our bodhicitta is the longing for that, longing for our mind to be liberated and wise and purely loving and caring and so on, and the longing to be able to really do something to help our fellow beings in suffering, and combining these two. So anyway, we look at all of that in the bodhicitta teachings. It's that aspiration, but aspiration itself is not enough. We need to apply the aspiration in practice. So there's practice bodhicitta, and the reason we're having today is because slowly this year we are working through the 6 paramita. Our bodhicitta in practice, how? In practice, how are you going to become Buddha? Are you just going to sit there in your armchair and long? Oh, if I can become Buddha, and prayer, man, become Buddha. Come on, do it, happen. It's not going to happen. We've got to apply it to everything we are. Everything we are is to do with our karma, our relationship with other people, beings we have karma with, the world that we're in, the body that our mind is parked in just now, this body. We have to apply the teachings to the reality of life. And that's where we learn as well. That's where the new happens, as we apply our loving care to try and help other beings. So bodhisattva, bodhicitta in practice is summed up as the 6 paramita. So we're stopping, like we stopped after the forbearance paramita to have an overview of the 6 paramita. Now we stopped after diligence to look at bodhicitta as a long journey. So bodhicitta, as we understand it now, learning to apply the 6 paramita and maintaining the mind longing for enlightenment. This is what we are looking at, how it will develop through the stages of the path. And I sent a diagram. I think everybody here more or less registered for these teachings. So you've got the diagram which shows this drawing of the stages of the path. You've got this document with this diagram. Can you see it? You put a hand up if you can see it. Yep, good. So put it on screen for a bit, but not all the time, even though we're going to refer to it a lot of the time. Now, you've had this diagram before, sort of, but what you will see is different from the diagram that you had before, is that there's a left-hand column which says cultivation to, insight to, and this will make sense later on in the talk. We've got insight as phase 3, cultivation as phase 4. There's a different way of dividing up the bodhisattva levels, so we'll come to that. It's a bit curious. But what we're mainly looking at in blue on the right-hand side are what are called the 37 factors of enlightenment. 4 mindfulnesses, 4 eliminations, 4 feet of miracles, 5 faculties, 5 powers, 7 aspects of awakening, 8-fold path of realized beings, the famous 8-fold path. So these are tools. These are our main tools, our main work at each stage of the path. That's in the right-hand column. In the column next to that, we see in more detail the sub-stages of the 5 main stages of the path. The phase of accumulation has a lower, middle, and greater part. The phase of integration has 4 sub-stages: warming, summit, forbearance, highest worldly thing. And then first bodhisattva level generally is the phase of called insight or seeing. And then the remaining 9 bodhisattva levels cultivating that insight. And then there's Buddhahood itself, where there's no more training to be done. You're there. No, there's nobody there because you're finished and only Buddha's left. So our teaching today refers to that. So before I turn it off, the image, you'll see at the bottom, the lower stage of the phase of accumulation is where we do the work of the 4 mindfulnesses. So, and our first simile is earth. So when we're on that stage of bodhicitta development, that is like the earth. Now, what we will need to do as the years go by with all of the topics is to think. I could go through these 22 similes, just read you the text. I could say, the bodhicitta at first is like the earth. And we go, yes, it's like the earth. And then after that, it's like gold. Oh, it's like gold. And then we're finished. There's work I can't do for you. What I'm doing today is like priming a pump, getting something going that you need to carry on, which is thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and contemplating and enjoying, savoring. Akon Rinpoche used to say it was like an old person sucking a sweet. So when you start Dharma, you're like a kid. You crunch the sweet and it's gone. And you take another one and it's gone. I told many of you, but when I was a little kid, my older sister, worked in a boiled sweet factory. And every Friday, with her pay packet, she got several kilos of boiled sweets. So as a kid, there were humbug sherbet lemons and all sorts of sweets. And that's how I ate them, especially the sherbet lemons. I can still remember. You crunch, because the outside's hard, but inside you've got the powder. It's quickly gone, and then there's another one. But according to Akon, which they may be talking about Tibetans, where Tibet didn't have many sweets. Sweets were a luxury and not a rare thing. An elderly person will get every drop of flavor out of the sweet. They'll suck it for a long time. They'll have explored that sweet until none of it's left. So this is what we do. We need to savor. So it's a simile. It's like what? The earth. So we need to explore what do they mean it's like the earth? How is the earth? Then we can go out and have a fantastic time thinking, exploring. Earth, as I explained not that many weeks ago, it's a wonder. I don't have anything here, but imagine I had a tomato, juicy tomato with tomato flavor that ripened in the sun, red, and with little greeny bits inside. That was made from the earth, from dirt, wherever it was planted. You go to the place it's planted, you get a handful of earth. There's no red, there's no green. You can lick it, there's no tomato taste. Yet the earth can make tomatoes, it can make pine trees, it can make so many things. If you plant the seed, or the shoot, or whatever you do, you sow something, and then it can produce a result which is astounding. I often use the example of a poppy seed, because for me that's blown my mind many times. Tiny, black, hard seed. You put it in the ground. The hardness becomes the most delicate flower in the world. And then the black becomes this red, this beautiful red. Where does he get it? It's amazing. And then that one seed makes a lot more seeds. It's crazy. And the earth can do this if you plant the seeds in it. So our bodhicitta is like the ground, the earth. Once we start learning more and more Dhamma, and we learn Dhamma method, Dhamma techniques, practices, then these are the seeds in our mind. Our bodhicitta is like the earth. It's connected to our Buddha nature, to our heart chakra, to the very essence of the loving being we really are. If we plant the seeds of practice, seeds of knowledge, then they can each produce their wonderful fruit, their result, amazingly, out of this one thing which is our bodhicitta, loving care, our intention to reach enlightenment, to help all beings. And then bodhicitta is also like the earth in the sense of being the foundation. The earth is so kind, so stable. It supports us, supports our homes, our buildings, our feet as we walk. And in that kind of a sense, whole civilizations come and go on the earth. We go to the ruins of ancient cities and civilizations that are gone. So our own lives come and go. This life I'm Ken, next life somebody else. Past life, who knows? But if all goes well, bodhicitta, the bodhisattva vow we took in past lives, got us back here now. And we're working on it, making it stronger, more reliable, so that it will catch up with us in our next life, rather than just living and dying, surviving. Something will happen in our next life and we'll get a whiff of Dharma and we'll hunt it out, it will hunt us out, we'll connect again. So just like civilizations and villages come and go on the earth, our lives come and go, but our bodhicitta will be the loving intention. It will be the loving work that we do from life to life to life to take us to. So it is the ground. We're exploring this one a bit more than the others. I think if you've looked at the clock, you'll realize we've already gone half an hour and we're still in the first simile. So we obviously don't have 11 hours today to go through, to give this much, but it's where we are just now. So we can savor this one quite realistically. So then this, when bodhicitta, which is there from the beginning, the wish, the longing for enlightenment, the longing to help other beings, when it's accompanied by mindfulness, and mindfulness as the four mindfulnesses, mindfulness of body, of feelings, mindfulness of mind, mindfulness of Dhamma, then it is like the earth. So this mindfulness is much more than secular mindfulness, which is very helpful for people, but we're talking about Buddhist mindfulness, and Buddhist mindfulness is your mind is full. It's very simple. Your mind is full, or becomes full, of Buddha's teachings. Mindfulness in Tibetan is drampa. Drampa is the word to remember, to recall. So it means as we are going second by second through our day, we don't forget the Buddha's guidance. That's what mindfulness means. So we train in mindfulness in four ways. The being present in the moment, which people define as mindfulness these days, that's called awareness in Dharma. That's being aware in the moment. But the whole reason for being aware of the moment is so that we can be mindful of Buddha's guidance, of our Guru's guidance, our teacher's guidance in the moment. Mindfulness is not just being present. Animals can do that in a way, very present, very there in the moment. So that's called awareness. Mindfulness means you don't forget Buddha's guidance. So we train in it step by step. We're aware, first of all, of our body. It doesn't mean mindful walking and mindful eating, right? That's awareness. That's part of the training. It means we're aware of the Buddha's teaching that you're in a human body just now. What does it mean to be in a human body? With these eyes that see and ears that hear, these nerve endings that feel sensations and so on. What does it mean to be embodied? What does it mean to be born and to die? What does it mean to have a precious human life that's impermanent? What does it mean to know how to use this life to meaning, to great use? So we become aware of the Buddha's teaching that this mind of ours, which never stops, had no beginning, had no end. Mind never stops. Just now it's in a body. It's limited by this body. Can you see beings on the other side of the planet? No. You can only see what's in front of your eyes, and it stops at the walls. It stops at the walls. You can only hear within a certain range and so on. And all of our life's experience has been so shaped by these five senses. It's been a sensorial roller coaster ride. Look where we ended up. All the things our nerve endings did, all those pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations, food, all of it. All of it. So mindfulness of body is a start. And then that leads us on to examine the feelings that are provoked, and how those feelings have such power over us. Nice, not nice. Oh, nice. Go for it. Don't want to know. Run from it. Get rid of it. Get rid of him or her, whatever. Feelings, so powerful. We learn feelings in the 12 links of interdependence, the role they play in getting us reborn and making karma. And then the next step from feelings is to be aware of our mind. So once we've trained more awareness of body, it's very gross. We can do it quite easily. Feelings come and go quite quickly. To be aware of them, mindful of them, we need to be much sharper in our meditation. But then now your mind, your thoughts, and all the other mental activities, they're super fast. So we need more mindfulness, better quality mindfulness to become aware of our mind. So that's us done. Our body, our feelings, our mind. Then the fourth mindfulness is Dharma, the interconnectedness of our body, feelings, and mind with everything, everybody else, and how that works. Karma, cause and effect, interdependence. So then you get quite wise. If it's real mindfulness, you're remembering the Buddha's teachings and you're actually being aware and mindful. Are they true? Is it impermanent? Do things come and go? Is there suffering or isn't there? Then this is the ground. It's like the earth. Our bodhicitta now has this accompanying wisdom, not word wisdom, not knowledge, not other people's ideas that we've heard, somebody's philosophy, what the Buddha said. Through mindfulness, we've tested it ourselves, come to our own conclusions. And then this gives us a stable basis for all the rest of the path to happen. So it says this, the first one, it's like gold, like earth, like the earth. That's the lower part of the stage of accumulation. Now, based on that, the middle part of the phase of accumulation is the four great changes. Okay, you're more and more mindful of being an embodied human, of your feelings, of the way your mind works, and the way minds work in general, Dharma, power of cause and effect. So then, because we have the taste of it, we have the knowledge of it, we see how powerful it is all around us, in everybody, in ourselves. Then we want to change things. What is causing harm? We want to get rid of it. Big change number one. The harmful things people do that we don't do yet, we never want to do. So the second great change is making sure no new harm comes into you. We live in an impermanent world. New people come into our focus, new work situations, new life situations. We have to be careful that as new happens, we don't become an element of suffering in the new. We live in a very changing world. We have responsibility in this changing world, so we have to be careful to be morally responsible. So getting rid of the harm, not making new harm. Change number three, whatever's good in us, make it better, make it stronger. Then number four, whatever goodness we don't have yet, acquire it. Skills, many skills, especially in the world of meditation. We have so much to learn. So the four great changes are the next part of this, what's called the phase of accumulation. We're accumulating good things to ourselves. So that's compared to gold. Now, this process of gold, why is it like gold? Well, that's for you to take away and think about a lot. But what's the good point about gold? One, doesn't change. Doesn't change. It's the main point here. In Gampopa's explanation from the Abhisamaya Alamkara, he said, because this won't change until enlightenment is reached. This aspect, we talk about our mind. So these four great changes: getting rid of what blocks, what limits, what harms, and developing what helps. That motivation, coupled with bodhicitta, means moment after moment, day after day, life after life, then we are looking to purify and to mature. These two things: to purify, take away whatever's limiting or harmful, purification. And as we go up through the stages of the path and the bodhisattva levels, we see at each level there's this that's got to go. This is how we do it, and when it's gone, there are these qualities. So this state of mind, let's say, this state of mind where you are keen, remember diligence, joyful, keen, industrious, to take away the harmful and to develop the good. This won't change all the way till we're Buddha and the work is over. Also, like gold, gold is very precious. When we come later on to the bodhisattva levels, then it's precious in itself, and it becomes the precious setting for other wonderful things. You set a ruby in gold, it's a very nice setting for a ruby, and so on. And then the gold, which in itself is changeless, noble, and valuable, can also be worked very skillfully into designs, into patterns. So I'm thinking for you, you need to go away and explore gold and try and think, then how does that work with what happens through this middle stage of accumulation, where we are really working hard on ourselves? Very practical example: if you're doing Mundro, you're doing the four foundations, four special foundations. That really corresponds to this work. The prostrations, the Vajrasattva practice is really so much to do with purification. And then the mandala offering, Guru Yoga, so on, are very much to do with developing positive qualities, getting into the spirit of that. So we need to think of this state of mind of improvement and purification. Why is it like gold? Spend good time with it, and then you'll appreciate the work. When you're prostrating up and down, doing the Vajrasattva mantra. Why? You know why you're doing it. This state of mind with bodhicitta. This is a golden state of mind. Will be with you to the end. And then the higher part of the stage of accumulation is where we have what are called the four feet of miracles. So it sounds great, isn't it? The 4 feet, or according to the Tibetan, it could be legs as well. The 4 legs of miracles. The fetum, sorry, so there, that is about meditation. Through mindfulness, we see what needs to be done. We get it, why the Buddha's teaching us methods. The 4 great changes, we start out on the work. But then the heart of that work is about changing the mind. And we can only change the mind through meditation. And in particular here, we're looking at shamatha. So this is the power of shamatha meditation combined with our bodhicitta. Whatever experience you have of shamatha, not shamatha's own experiences like peacefulness and stability, but in general, what has shamatha done for you? What's it doing for you? In a longer term, it's a journey of shamatha. The power of shamatha to teach us peace, to show us how not to be involved, how not to be distracted, how to be one-pointed, how to deal with our various emotions. And then when we start meditation paramita in a month or more's time, we'll see all the specialized techniques for dealing with our mind poisons. We're also looking at those here, this power of meditation. So it says, when we're in that stage, it is like the waxing moon. So wax, it's a very English term, waxing moon, nothing to do with wax, but it means it's growing. In English, the moon waxes and wanes. It's quite a sweet language. So just now we're on the waxing moon. It's very appropriate where we are today, actually. We're on day 2 of the moon, day 2 or 3. So it's just starting to wax. And so our shamatha, the meditation experience, is baby shamatha. It will get more and more and more and more accessible. I remember my best friend, he went to previous Kalu Rinpoche in 1970. I didn't go with him. He went off to Darjeeling to see him. I was still in Dharamsala. He came back, mind blown. And he said, we were talking about shamatha. And he just said, look, he says, if I want to go into peaceful mind shamatha. And he was there. He said, I sat with him, nothing but peace. Just like that. He doesn't have to kind of work on it for 10 or 15 minutes and watch the breath and do this and do that and posture. And then slowly something gets a little bit peaceful and you think, oh, the meditation's working. He can just be there. So he said, that was a real big teaching from my friend. He realized we don't just need to learn to meditate, but to meditate in a way where it's our very accessible friend. We can take the mind out of distraction, out of involvement, just like that. So that's the main point of the upper part of this first phase, the phase of accumulation, stage of accumulation. Now the words that Gampopa uses, or that the original text uses, is that in the lower stage, when we practice mindfulness, there is aspiration. Through the mindfulness, we are more and more aware of what goes on in ourselves and in life. And we have this aspiration to become Buddha, to help everyone make a better job of it. When we combine it with the 4 changes and we're really committed to working on ourselves, purifying and maturing, then that is commitment. It's this kind of commitment we saw in the diligence teachings, Ama-like diligence. Whatever happens in this life, whatever happens, This is just one life amongst many. I'm going to become Buddha to help everyone. That's the journey. And everything is food for that journey, fuel for that journey. So then that's commitment. And then when you meditate, you see things through the meditator's eyes, which ordinary human beings can't see. When you've got that deep experience, then your commitment is deeper. What else can you say? It's just deeper. So at that stage, it's deeper commitment, like the waxing moon. So now we move on. And if we go back to our diagram, we've got one example for all 4 levels of the stage of integration. So what happens on the stage of integration? What do we integrate with? Buddha nature. Buddha nature as the highest form of shunyata. So shunyata, in all of its meanings, our mind integrates itself with the shunyata teachings of no, 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 with the seeing through the delusions, seeing the dream-like, rainbow-like, illusion-like quality of all existence, how it happens through interdependence, comes and goes before you can, all the time, like a dream, like an illusion, and so on. And so all that no, 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 seeing through the delusions that kept us in samsara, but also the yes, yes, yes teachings of Buddha nature, also shunyata, highest aspect of shunyata. So we're integrating our historical mind with the Buddha mind of shunyata. We do that in 4 steps. First one, where it warms to those teachings. We get the first feelings of what they mean. And then we learn and think and explore shunyata and Nagarjuna's teachings, the teachings on the path, and so on. About how it actually works, the dissolving of illusions, the arrival of enlightenment. So then through the summit stage, and then the forbearance stage, where we're dealing very vividly with our own delusions. And they're crumbling one after another. And we enjoy it, sort of. And then the last stage is called the highest worldly thing, because that's as far as you can go, while you've still got a worldly mind. While you've still got a worldly mind. What does that mean? While you've still got let's say single position mind. You are still in this body, still linked to your 5 senses as far as experience goes. You are still mainly experiencing your karma. It's all changed very, very, very much since you started out on the path. Very, very much. But you are still in that situation. The big flip hasn't happened. It's about to happen. You're at the threshold of awakening. Once you've awakened in the first bodhisattva level, you are not single located. Your mind has something like 100 facets. You can be in 100 different pure lands at the same time. We can't imagine that. How can we imagine that? Hard enough being here in one body, in one place. Away, because I saw on Facebook the other day, two people talking, one saying to the other, I had a near-life experience. You know, people talk about near-death experience. Somebody said, I had a near-life experience. I was almost alive. I was almost awake. Just in one body, in one place. So to be in the presence of 100, just to be in the presence of a Buddha, bloody amazing. So 100 Buddhas at the same time, able to help 100 people at the same. It's like sometimes you see, is it a fly's eye that's got all the different facets to it? Goodness knows what it's like in a fly's brain. Like a security agent with all those screens in front of them, and CCTV screens. Must be mad being a fly, seeing 100 different facets at the same time. But something like that can be, it's like to be with one person to help them, can be with 100 people, and so on. There are 12 times 100 qualities on the first bodhisattva level. Roughly speaking, 100, roughly speaking. So from being one person in one place on planet Earth, that's how our mind experiences, there is a liberation. And so, but now, before we get to that, we're looking at this whole phase, second stage, second big stage of the path, integration with shunyata, with Buddha nature. In its 4 stages, we have one simile for all of that, which is fire. And fire, because it, well, see, this is your work. Then we have to go out and explore fire. I remember once a TV crew came to Samiling, and I spent some time talking with the cameraman and the sound engineer, getting into their world, that world of the image. And that particular cameraman was talking to me about filming fire and how amazing fire is, and about the complications of filming it. But anyway, fire is for us to explore what it does and why it's used here. Just to help you along, let me unpack it a bit to set the pump going. Fire, the main point here, one of the main points is it destroys. It burns away. And that burning is contagious. You know, when you see these terrible pictures of a whole house that burnt down, you see it started in one electrical socket, or we had fires in Samiling in the past. Devoted people leaving a nightlight burning and then going down for supper, and then you come back up and the whole room's on fire or the attic's on fire. They start with a little thing, but then it catches something else and catches something else, and becomes a bigger and bigger blaze. So our training in shunyata, our training in the thinking, our training on the meditation cushion on shunyata, and then this, first of all, we explore one thing, we see through the delusions, and then this leads us to think about other things. Once you get the feel for it, all sorts of delusions start falling away, and we see life very differently. We experience life very differently. So it's like fire, it spreads. But then as fire spreads, it makes this warmth and light. Your sofa going up and your curtains and all the other things make a lot of bright light and warmth. So the light of wisdom comes from the burning up of delusions. It's so true. It's so true, this. The more we become wise to the power of karma, the interdependence, the way it's changing all the time and always cause and effect, karma. The more we see it, we see how people are trapped in it. They hurt so much. They hurt each other so much. And we are burning through, because of our love and compassion, we're burning through the power of those delusions. So then what happens when something's burnt? There's a very, very strong teaching from Tilopa to Naropa, where he gets him to burn some fabric, piece of cloth. So after it's burnt, it's black, it's lost its color and so on, but there's still all of the weave is there. As our delusions burn, as you become more and more, how can you say, voidness mind, it doesn't erase life. People are still there. Germany, France, Switzerland, all of them, they're all there still. Weather's still there, but it's not like it was before. The weave is still there, but it's not like it was before. We have a new relationship, and so on. So much to think about what happens as we do this apprenticeship of shunyata in the phase of integration, and how it is like fire. Consumes, but also brings light and warmth. So that's our fourth simile. Now, just one thing to say there is mainly about teachings on the 5 stages of the path. It is not totally linear. It's not as though you have to go through the 3 stages of accumulation, mindfulness, 4 changes, feat of miracles through meditation, shamatha practice, and only then can you start shunyata training. Those 2 work together, depends on your teacher. How one combines shunyata training with the very practical work of mindfulness, self-change, and shamatha. This is interesting. No time to talk about it today, but if you look at what's going on internet, on Facebook, different lamas and what they're peddling, some of them, it's just a lot of shunyata. It's always the nature of mind, clear, light, dzogchen, and others, it's much more the need for mindfulness, the 4 changes, and so on. In good Dharma and in Vajrayana Dharma, where you have a teacher, then this is the whole point of having a teacher. Those first 2 stages of the path, while we're still one person somewhere. It's what's called in the text Jewu, in Tibetan Jewu means a sentient being. A sentient being. You're a somebody somewhere. You're a butterfly. You're a human being. You're a man. You're a woman. That's you. You're not human and butterfly at the same time. You're not in Scotland and the African jungle at the same time. You're one person in one place through, this is the important bit, power of your karma. You're not out of the power of karma yet. So while we're like that, and while we're training in Dharma with a good teacher, then how the phase of accumulation and the phase of integration are applied to you is the teacher's responsibility, depending on what's most effective for your own evolution. So now comes the great change, the big flip. We've gone past the highest worldly point. Now we're in the first bodhisattva level. So first bodhisattva level is when your mind is no longer one person, one place through the power of karma, You've been liberated into Buddha nature. It's not finished yet. It's a limited version of Buddha nature. But your mind is not singular anymore. You are part of the great loving Buddha mind. That's your default state. And your historical state, in my case, will be somewhere on the surface, still there, but it's lost its power. Your default nature is bodhicitta. And I've seen this in a few popular films as well, science fiction films. Whatever they may be, I can't remember which ones, but whether it's kind of Harry Potter type films or whether it's Doctor Strange type film, at one point they say, this isn't about you. Just now, our practice is very much about us, right? But after the flip, it's not about you. It's about everybody. It's the Buddha mind helping everybody through whatever's left of you. It's not about you. It's about loving care. It's about community. It's about service. But even service is too singular a word. Somebody needs to be serving. It's natural goodness, helping people. Hard to explain, hard for us to imagine. But at that first bodhisattva level, ego, the power of ego is gone. It's called utter joy. What you've been dreaming of all that time, what you believe in, it's happened. Ego's gone. No more power. There's the power of love, the power of compassion. Buddha's beautiful love is just there for everybody. That's your default nature. So it says, for instance, at that level, then you're free from 5 fears. It's wonderful. Fear of earning a living. How am I going to make do and survive? And fear of earning a living. Fear of reputation. What will people think of me? How do I look in others' eyes? Fear of death. God. And then fear of the lower realms. Fear of being reborn in a lower state. Gone. The last one is fear of people. Being with people. Don't want to be with those ones. Much rather be with those ones. You're okay wherever you go. But now, the first bodhisattva level, it's just saying a few things about it. The hundreds, 12 sets of hundreds, freedom from 5 fears. This is where the Abhisamaya Alamkara, summing up 100,000 verse Prajnaparamita, gets into the details of how it is at that level, the first of the 10 bodhisattva levels. So now we're in these realms that are theoretical for us. We can go more quickly. So at that stage, first bodhisattva level, one practices all the paramita, but one brings to perfection. One brings to perfection the paramita of generosity. Because there's no more ego, it's so much easier. There's no territory to defend, there's no fear of loss. So then generosity can be taken to its full. So it's as you become, your bodhicitta becomes at that stage like a great treasure. Great treasure. Winning the lottery is not a very good example, because it seems lots of people who win the lottery, they don't end up that happy. But sometimes it's a lot of money. Like it's more than, if you were wise, more than you'd need for a whole lifetime. for yourself and to do nice things for people. So it's like a great treasure. It means you can do what you want. I've got a millionaire friend, and I remember a couple of years ago, he likes rugby. I think it's rugby, some sport. And there was a final going to take place in Japan. So he thought, oh, I'll fly my mates there. So he's got about half a dozen, 10 people. He'll fly them there, first class or business class, put them into hotels, get them the best seats for the rugby match. It's that kind of a world. But he's got the money to do that. He doesn't need to think, now if I do that, will I have enough left for the next thing? Not even a second thought. This is the point. A great treasure. You can do what you're not limiting. The feeling of generosity at the first bodhisattva level, how, to put it in our words, how you are there for everyone, has no limit. What you would like to give, what you can give of yourself, no limit, to help other beings. So there is like a great treasure, because the paramita of generosity. Remember Milarepa's summary of generosity. Other than going beyond me, there is no other generosity. You've got no territory, nothing to defend for yourself. You're just there for everybody. It's so beautiful. So it's like a great treasure. On the second bodhisattva level, then one practices all the paramita. One's purification deals with more this and that. One's maturity deals with this and this and that. All the details are in the Prajnaparamita teachings. But the main thing is that the paramita of right conduct is brought to perfection. So there is great purity of conduct. And it says this is like a jewel mine full of jewels. I think it's an imaginary mine, because normally, like a diamond mine's only got diamonds, but you might find the odd other precious stone in there. And a ruby mine's got rubies and so on. This is kind of an amazing imagination mine. Or you go down the mine shaft and they're just emeralds and rubies and sapphires. You can just pull them off the walls. How are you doing? I'm talking so much. Must be tired. I've got another friend who's got a diamond mine. Nearly closed because they couldn't find diamonds in it. You kind of dug it, and it looks like, oh, well, folks, that's it. Nice while it lasted. And you've got expenses, you've got machinery, digging machinery, you've got staff to pay. And so my friend was thinking of selling his airplane and all this kind of thing. Terrible. And so, but then they found one diamond, big one, $17 million diamond, so he could keep himself in business. This is your example to think about a jewel mine. What's a jewel? What's a mine full of them? A jewel, a rock, a bit of, I don't know how big a $17 million diamond is, but probably not that big. One bit of rock, all you can do with it. A bit of stone that I go and get from the garden here, not the same. If it's a diamond or an emerald, wow. So now a whole mine full of that, when we have right conduct, pure. It's such a resource for other beings. They can trust you. Totally. And because they trust you, you can help them. Remember Milarepa saying, other than not being twisted in any way, no background agenda, no front face, but behind it you've got your own agenda. Totally straight. What you see is what you get. There's no other right conduct. So people can trust you, and you're like a mine of jewels to help them. On the third bodhisattva level, it's like a great ocean, not the ocean these days. This is from ancient India, when life was all organic. It's before plastics, before concrete. The ocean is so big, and whatever goes into it gets recycled naturally. The ocean is this just amazing, amazing place. So this is when we have the paramita of forbearance. No matter what life throws at us, what our bodhisattva teachings throw at us. Like my own teacher being murdered. Whatever happens, then you are like this ocean of forbearance. Everything that comes to you, the violence, the difficulties, all of the things we saw in the paramita of forbearance become transformed. The ocean can take it. It doesn't have limits. That's the paramita of forbearance. And then when there's the paramita of diligence, then it is like a vajra. The vajra is Indra's weapon. The definition is it can destroy anything, but it cannot itself be destroyed. This is why Indra is king of the gods. When you got a weapon like that, nobody argues with you. And so diligence can overcome all of the obstacles. None of the obstacles can take away your happy Dharma mind, which is the heart of diligence, your joyful enthusiasm, when we bring it to perfection. And that joyful enthusiasm makes more and more things possible to be done, more and more victories in this Dharma work, in one's own mind, in helping other beings. And then when we have the fifth paramita, on the fifth bodhisattva level, which is shamatha, concentration, meditation, dhyana, then it is like the king of mountains. Not you are like the king of mountains, our bodhicitta, with the power of perfected samadhi, total flexibility of absorptions, whichever it is. I'm thinking of Milarepa's stories where he just goes from one absorption to the other in seconds like this. If you know Milarepa's 100,000 songs stories. So when that samadhi is brought to perfection, then your bodhicitta is so stable because your mind, which is steeped in Buddha nature, is unshakable. I think we're very shakeable at the moment by our emotions and distractions. So total unshakability. When there is the sixth paramita, prajna paramita, perfection of wisdom, then it's like a medicine, because as we bring the prajna paramita teachings to perfection, then whatever is left at that stage, it's really not much, but whatever's left of our two main blockages, the klesha, our afflictions, our mind poisons, and then our limited knowledge, they are like illness in the sense that illness limits us. We can't do things. So the medicine that makes us healthy and able to do things is prajna paramita. It's like a medicine. And now we come to 4 more paramitas, not 6 paramitas, but 10. So on the 7th bodhisattva level, we perfect the paramita of skillful means, skillful methods. So many skillful ways we can't imagine at this level for helping other beings. And then it says, then the Dharma master spirit is there. Very hard to describe this, I don't think. I mean, I'm not at that level to describe it to you. But there's no self, there's not a you. We're going up through ever-increasing levels of purity. And now, after prajna paramita and skillful method, then you're like, what is there with your bodhicitta at that stage is a mastery. It's not you are like a Dharma master, but there is a Dharma mastery, which means you can help this one this way, that one that way, this one by extraordinary methods. Because you know, given that person's mind, like Milarepa, how did Marpa help him? Giving empowerments, giving teachings? No, he got him to build houses to get out of his murder karma. Skillful method, wonderful skillful method. Wouldn't be allowed today. He'd be in prison and he'd be in all the newspapers. But at the time, it worked. So it was skillful for the time and the place and that disciple. So that Dharma mastery. On the next level, so now we're on the 8th level, then there's the perfection of prayer, the power to create prayers, the power of your prayers really work. So then we say you, we put it in those terms, you become like a wish-fulfilling jewel. It's what we call the 16th Gampopa. People didn't call him Gampopa or Sir in Tibetan. We call him Yishin Nobu. Yishin Nobu means wish-fulfilling gem, because his presence in somebody's life made wonderful things happen, changed everything. Just, it says, by seeing, hearing, touching, or recalling him. I witnessed that. So true. Just his mere presence in somebody's life. Like a wish-fulfilling jewel. So that's through the power of prayer. Very simple example, I think worked for me. Of course, I can't guarantee, but when I was driving him around, at the time I was poor, and he would sometimes give me coins. So it's not a lot of money, but he will give it with prayer. And then bit by bit, my life became materially richer and richer because he gave the coins with prayers. You give coins with prayers to a poor person. And at that level, prayers work. It's wonderful. On the 9th one, then there is the perfection of powers. So we need to study the bodhisattva level and the 10 powers of wisdom and so on. So when one has the powers that one has at that level, then you are like the sun that shines down, lights up everybody, makes all the flowers and the crops grow, warms the earth, does so many things at once without thinking, just by being the sun. Sun doesn't need to, how tiresome that would be. Oh, there's a little daisy down there. I've got to shine a ray of light. Hello, daisy. Ooh. And look, there's a cold human being waiting for me to come up. So here I come, warming you. It just is. And that isness works wonders, like the sun. And then on the 10th bodhisattva level, there is the perfection, not of prajna, wisdom, but jhana, primordial wisdom. And so then at that stage, it's called the cloud of Dharma, the name of the stage, but it's called the melody of Dharma. It's like a melody, music that charms everybody. And it's an interesting example, this one. We've gone through jewel mines and suns and all sorts of things. When we get to bodhisattva level 10, it's the power of music. The power of music, and then, but then at this stage, it means that 10th level bodhisattva they can be teaching a crowd of 100 people, and there will be 100 different perfect versions where everyone's getting just what they need. So it's called the melody, the great melody, the music of Dharma is present at that stage with your bodhicitta. Now we explore the last 3 bodhisattva levels, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Particularly, I'm sorry it's taking longer than I thought, but I've got to finish, so it's a long session today. At the end of bodhisattva level 7, duality goes. Your mind is no longer subject, object, perceiver, perceived. There are no longer 2 sides to it. We can't imagine that with a dualistic mind. How can you? How can you? But it goes at the end of the 7th bodhisattva level. So levels 8, 9, and 10 are very pure, and they share these 5 qualities. These are the next 5 examples. First, clear awareness, and then it's like a powerful king, not modern kings. They don't have power. Old-fashioned kings a long time ago could do whatever they wanted, and the whole kingdom fell in line. And people didn't argue. And so all-powerful kings. To really, I can't explain this today because we need to look at a set of teachings called the 80 bodhisattva qualities, and to see how they are present on these last 3 levels and how they help each other. No time. So one thing is clear awareness, and then a combination of 2 things: goodness through all the good karma you've made, and pristine awareness. Then it's like a treasury, like a royal treasury that can finance anything, because so much has been stored up by the time we've got to those levels. The next, the factors conducive to enlightenment. So I only explored the first ones today. The 4 mindfulnesses, the 4 great changes, the 4 feet of miracles. We didn't look any further than that, but there are 37. By this time, 8th, 9th, 10th bodhisattva levels, they are totally part of our bodhicitta. They're perfect. So then it's like a great highway. You're kind of, when you drive little roads and difficult roads, but you end up on the big road, and you join all the other people who've come on their little roads to join the big road. And now you're home and dry. It's a nice, smooth ride to where you're going. 8th, 9th, 10th bodhisattva levels is great. The hard work's right down at the bottom, stage of accumulation, where we are. So hard. But now by the time we get there, it's like, how could there be anything else? It's just the last bits of purification, the last openings and more openings until the big opening after the end of the 10th level. So it's like the great highway. Why? Because of those 37 factors of enlightenment. And then when there's this mixture, which there is there, of incredible great compassion and deep, deep prajna, then it's like a steed. It's like a horse. In the old days, this was the horse, fastest method of travel on earth at the time. The fastest method of travel possible. So in those 8th, 9th, 10th levels, the progress that you'll make is the very best, because your compassion and wisdom are so beautifully blended and indistinguishable, the one from the other. And then on the 10th level, it mentions 2 of those 80 bodhisattva qualities: retention and prowess. Retention, the first one, dharani, is about the power of mantra. I can't describe it, there's no time, it's really late. So, but when there is those two powers, then it's like a reservoir, because everything you've learned through study or practice is retained, it's never wasted. It's just there in your mind. There's a resource like water in a reservoir for everybody. So then we've got three more similes. This is about when you're Buddha. We come back to music. When you are Buddha, you have all the Dharma, 100%. You are Dharma Kaya. You are the expanse of Dharma. And this is like music for everybody. Inspiring music. It's a difficult example, that one. It's a difficult example. It's about being. Let me tell you a quick story. Sorry, it's taking so long. Tilopa once, in his wanderings, came by a sitar player. It was a veena player. It wasn't a sitar, but it was one of these stringed instruments. The guy was a guru in his own right, musical guru, and he had a lot of power over people. He would play his, and people would just be like transported, literally transported. That's how that kind of guru works. So the guy was a guru. He was taking people's minds to very wonderful places, but still some ego. So Tilopa's job, natural job, because he's Tilopa, is to help the guy get rid of his ego. So he starts whistling. And people hearing Tilopa's whistling, it just sounded so wonderful. Their minds were carried away to a much better place than they were already at through the sitar player. And the sitar player is getting angrier and angrier because, first of all, the guy's whistling while he's playing. And then people are just enthralled, just whistling. And then he cracks up and he, what the hell do you think you're doing? I'm giving a concert like this. And then there's an interaction. And but the guy sees, because the guy's curious, how can your whistling be better than, he's trained for years, and he's practiced, he's done everything. How can it capture people's minds and steal them away from my capture? And then Tilopa teaches him Mahamudra. So I think that gives a clue to understanding this great melody of Dharma from the Buddha's mind that makes the most beautiful music in each person's mind. When bodhicitta is at the enlightened stage there, it's like a huge river. Its current can only move one way. It's always the same way. Remove people's obstacles, help them to remove their own obstacles, bring wisdom and qualities. And then the last one, when bodhicitta has reached Dharmakaya, as it has at Buddhahood, it's like a rain cloud. And you have to think of India monsoon rains, how after all of that heat and build up, the monsoon rains bring incredible relief. And also they bring all of the crops, which are people's food, to ripening. So thank you very much. Let's dedicate now. That was a very long session, but I wanted to say at least those things about these 22 similes, and I hope one day you get the time to really explore them. Good quality time for yourselves. May whatever virtue was created by this session contribute to the state of omniscience being attained, through the main enemy, our mind's defilements, being completely defeated. Through that, may each and every being become freed from the ocean of existence, troubled by the waves of rebirth, aging, sickness, and death. May this precious bodhicitta arise in those in whom it's not arisen. May its development know no setbacks, and may it increase ever more and more. Through this virtue, may we quickly achieve Mahamudra and establish every single sentient being in that same accomplishment. So, thank you very much. Over to you.
Can I have a reflection recently about loving kindness and compassion?
Mm-hmm.
And what I recognized in myself is that I find it easier to work with the suffering element, and I find it easier to give rise to compassion, but I find it incredibly difficult to give rise to loving kindness. My question is, if you focus, if I just work then with the compassion side, would that then naturally give rise to the loving kindness, or do I actually need to try and generate it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, two answers, I think. One is, I think the loving kindness has to already be there in the compassion, because why bother? Why bother caring for people who are suffering if you don't have loving kindness anyway? It's just people suffering. Hard luck, tough luck. So because you can feel compassion for their suffering, I think the loving kindness has to be there in a way. The way we do work on loving kindness, because none of us has enough of it. We all need to work on it. I don't know if anybody here can say, I've done loving kindness. I have 100% perfect love for everybody. I can't say that for sure. I don't think anybody can. We all need to work on love, on loving kindness, whatever we call it. But the way we do it is to think of someone we do love or have loved, especially when it's a less selfish love. I mean, of course, one can think of lovers and friends, but like a parent's love for a child, especially a little baby, a newborn child, and so on, or the love one might have for one's parents. But anyway, whatever person we have loved, then we feel gratitude, because the feeling of love in our heart is a very, very precious thing. It's quite a rare thing. A lot of us are damaged humans, whereby our attempts to love other humans in all sorts of ways, children, friends, lovers, parents, they've been damaged. It became a disaster, or it hurt. So very often our power to love is closed down. And actually the power of love in this heart center, heart chakra of ours is the secret to many things. So we have to find healthy love that can help us grow. So we feel grateful for whatever taste of love we've had, even if it was impure, even if it went wrong. But the time when there was that warm feeling. To find the clue to it, it's when our world opens up into somebody else's world and they become real for us. Normally we keep a sort of safe distance from each other. It's very necessary in life. And it's a bit like body distance in between different cultures. You stand so far away from somebody and you do or you don't touch. But above and beyond that, we also psychologically only let people into so much of us. We only share so much of ourselves. So love is when those barriers drop. We're allowed into somebody else's world and they're allowed into our world, and there's a kind of a sharing. So when that happens, and it can be a very special feeling. So whatever taste of that we've had is something very precious for us, and then in the long term for everybody, because that development of that love will become bodhisattva love and Buddha's love. So we try and find that. We try and find that feeling of gratitude. And then we use artifice. It's the only thing we've got at first, artificial thoughts. And we think how much I've cared for that person, how much I'd like to repay the kindness of the gift of love in future lives. And that in the past, the artifice is to think, I've been that close to many, many other beings. So I'd like to, whenever the power of karma brings us back together, I like to repay, I like to care for them, no matter what they're going through. So we start looking through different eyes at beings as people we've loved in the past, no matter what they're doing now. And we're grateful that they've given us this gift of communication, of sharing. We kind of work in those areas. And it's good to work on it if one can. But I think you'll find if compassion works for you, or it's getting better and better, then explore the love that has to be there in the compassion. Otherwise, you wouldn't give a damn. People are suffering. People are suffering. It's just the way life is. Why would you care for them and want to help them out of their suffering? Because we love them.
Okay, I will do that, because I think the traditional methods. I remember you saying once that you came across a person once upon a time who'd never ever experienced love.
Yes.
And I think I was speaking from this perspective, and I think you've answered it in that there must be love there in your heart if you can feel compassion, and so you potentially could explore it via the compassion side.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Ken. Maybe I'll follow that up with a question of my own. Does it make sense, if I can put it that way, to join in your Tonglen sessions on the first Saturday of each month, or do you have to have been doing it from the start? And if it does make sense, is it a separate link?
It's I've got a Tonglen mailing list. It's the same link for every session at the moment, but I remind people every month, and I send out that same link to people on the list, and you're certainly very welcome to join. And we use a method that comes from the first Jamgon Kongtrul Rinpoche, which includes a sort of guru yoga. So it's not a common method of Tonglen. It's not that rare, but it's not a common method of Tonglen. And if somebody wants to train in that, then I send them the links to the original training we did a couple of years ago It was just three sessions, I think, over a weekend. And so you're certainly very welcome to join. And if you want to just check out the method, or maybe you know it already, then I can send you the links for those.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. And that, of course, applies to anybody else if you're not coming to the Tonglen and you'd like to. Okay, maybe that's us for today. Then wish you all very, very well. And where are we in the month? I think next week we start, it's the dying course, dying as best one can. So I don't know how many of you will be along for that, but anyway, maybe see you next week, but look forward to whenever we see each other again. And hello and goodbye to those I didn't say hello to at the beginning. Good to see you. Good to see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ken.
Yes, Ken. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. That was lovely.
Bye, Ken, and thank you very much, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.